Stewart called Anish the administration's answer to George Clooney.
Oh, come on. That's a party foul.
Hard-hitting question here from some bottom-line-oriented Silicon Valley chief financial officer.
Excellent.
The U.S. CTO office is a new position. Forgive me for asking a basic question, says the questioner, but what's the budget and staff of the CTO's office?
This is an exceptional question because the answer is the marginal cost is ZERO. Now let me explain. The White House, like every organization, has bureaucratic branches. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy had been in place since the 70s. And that's an operating entity that's been around the Bush administration, the Clinton administration, etc. The head of technology, the associate director for technology in that office, is funded and is a Senate-confirmed position with about a dozen or so staff members. And that's been the budget, it's been there forever. The president appointed me to that role. But to create the national chief technology officer, he said, I'm going to shift the bureaucratic pieces, if you will, by naming you assistant to the president, which means there are privileges of being one of 25 assistants to the president that are the final stop before material reaches the president for his consideration. That you will sit as a board member of the National Economic Council with members of my cabinet and the Domestic Policy Council with members of my cabinet. So he took an existing infrastructure and cost structure and elevated the position itself by creating the opportunity for it to have a more leadership role on a range of issues, economic and domestic, and to do so as an important signal to the industry as being a chief technologist. So it actually was no new dollars, but a reallocation of priorities that the president said, Anish, I want to hear from you before we, as the final voice before material hits my desk.
So chief financial officers, as you know, never have just one question.
Yes.
There is a follow-up.
I like it.
What are the major deliverables and success criteria for the United States Chief Technology Officer?
So my colleague Tom Khalil says this best. We are effectively policy entrepreneurs. So the output of our office are policies that the president will unveil. Policies take several forms. They're often manifest in budget. So when we release the fiscal 2012 budget, you would look to see if it represents the spirit with which I described our philosophy today. The manner with which we enact policies in areas like the smart grid and healthcare IT, as I said earlier, the rules around giving me the authority to have access to my own data. Those are policy deliverables. But it's also about catalyzing an ecosystem which may or may not take advantage of formal government action in the form of a law or a regulation, but actually is the convening power, and I point to the Hindu-Matt combination as an example tonight, where we're not actually doing much except for convening and celebrating. So I actually measure, first of all, the number one measure of success is by serving the president. That's who I serve. And in that regard, I serve the American people through the priorities that he set. But it's the set of policies that we are reporting. So you heard a bunch of areas where I have interest, and you can look at them. Where are we on IT infrastructure, on spectrum, if you think that's good or bad, and I can get on the list again.
So a lot of people here are interested, it turns out, in cybersecurity,
Yeah,
which I suspect is a topic you've thought about a fair amount. And